To define qualification, it just means that you increase the likelihood that someone will buy while investing as little time as possible into making that happen. That's my definition of qualification, right? And so there are two frameworks. You have BANT, B-A-N-T, and you have SPICED, right? And these two frameworks, which mean budget, authority, need, and timing, means can they afford your stuff? Can they make the decision to buy your stuff? Do they actually need what you're selling? Will it benefit them? And do they need your stuff in a reasonable time frame? And reasonable just means your average sales cycle time. Okay? This is good if you're selling to small businesses or single decision makers in a very transactional software sales. It's not good if you have multiple complex deals with multiple stakeholders because a lot of context goes missing. All right. For that, you have the SPICE framework. That just means situation, pain, impact, critical event, decision. Situation means what are they doing right now? What problems are they facing with their current situation? What happens if the problems go unsolved? The last time this actually happened, or example of actual real life problems in their language. And who makes the decisions? What are the criteria needed to make a decision, / any non-negotiables they have? Who needs to be involved, and what's important for each individual? This is good for software businesses that sell to mid-market or enterprise companies, have multiple stakeholders and longer sales cycles, and you have multiple AEs, solutions engineers, stuff like that. And it's not good if you just have simple transactional deals because you don't need this much context. All right, you just do one call closes. Now, to find this, just interview all your customers, find out who spent the most, stayed the longest, and complained the least, and then sort them by the top 20%. That should be your ICP. That's who you want to filter by. It doesn't mean you can't sell to the other ones too, but these become the priority. Now, questions you can ask are simply, and you can apply these to BANT as well, by the way, so that's why I just kept this here. For a situation, how are you currently dealing with X? I often hear ICP deal with common problem a lot. How do you deal with this? And you're probably also using current process, right? And you will name the software that they're already using because you're an expert in that field. You should know that. What else do you use to deal with other problems, for example? Interesting. What else? And you can always ask interesting what else, by the way. In any scenario, just say interesting. What else? What else? What else? And you just keep saying that to go deeper, right? And using this, you will find out their exact situation, which means what are they doing right now? Then you want to find out the pain. Now, how's that going for you? Easy. What have you tried in the past to fix this? How long have you been trying to fix this? How did that go? What else have you tried? By the way, you can just cycle through these infinitely. What have you tried? How long? How did that go? What else? Okay, how did that go? Simple as that. And you manage to deal with this every day? Wow, I'm impressed. And if you could change one thing right now, what would it be? This also works. Now you know what problems they're facing with their current situation. For impact, what happens if you don't solve this? What you feel like happens if you don't solve this? What would other person feel if this continues for, like, let's say 12 months from now? And you include the other person that they named that also helps them with this work. How would that affect other departments? If you're like trying to go up in the company and you want to reach a C-level that actually holds like multiple departments, you asking this question makes it relevant for them suddenly and not just the manager. Let's look at this from another perspective. Do you think this also affects X? Maybe something I didn't think of before. Again, you increase the impact, you increase the pain, because that increases the gap between where they are and where they want to be, which means you can charge more money. All right? And they will close more. Critical event. Can you give me an example for a problem they mentioned? Right? Really? When was the last time that happened? Okay, how'd you deal with that at that time? Is there anything coming up soon where this topic could be relevant? There you get actual events in real time that you can remind them of later to get to the close. And decision, which you can, by the way, ask after you book the meeting. I really suggest this. This is called multi-threading. You just get multiple people on there. Let's say you want this, like, to get this going as fast as possible. Who else needs to be involved? Okay, who would feel left out in our meeting? Another variation. Should I also invite other person you've researched before? Let's say you just know who already you want to be there. You just literally name them. What would be the most important non-negotiables for you? What would be important to that other person? And you ask this for every person who plans to attend, so you can tailor it to all of them. And so again, you can ask these questions right before you book the meeting, or for decision after you already booked it, just to increase your close rates, have multiple stakeholders on the first one.